So she's hiding right in front of us in a hermetically sealed package, in part because of the mainstream media protecting her and trying to stop Trump, and in part because she just doesn't have it. In this business, you either have it or you don't, and she doesn't.
In a series of pointed and insightful appearances on Fox News, Kellyanne Conway, former senior counselor to President Trump, issued a stark warning about the current state of the presidential race. Her comments paint a vivid picture of a tightening contest between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, with both campaigns employing markedly different strategies to win over the American electorate. Conway, known for her sharp political acumen and no-holds-barred approach to commentary, began by highlighting the contrasting approaches of the two campaigns, focusing first on Donald Trump's recent activities.
Look what happened this week. Donald Trump had a great manufacturing speech in Georgia. He was very specific and grounded. He spoke for an hour and a half straight. 15% corporate tax rate if you have factories here, if you're manufacturing in the USA. And the other sign said made in the USA.
Conway emphasized Trump's engagement with key industries and his focus on economic policies. She praised his ability to connect with voters through specific policy proposals and his commitment to American manufacturing. This approach, Conway argued, demonstrates Trump's understanding of the issues that matter most to the American people, particularly in crucial swing states. In stark contrast, Conway's assessment of Kamala Harris's campaign strategy was scathing. She criticized Harris for lacking substance and avoiding direct engagement with the press, suggesting that this approach reflects poorly on Harris's ability to lead and connect with voters. The former Trump advisor went on to critique Harris's performance as vice president, painting a picture of an ineffective leader who has failed to make the most of her position.
And part of it is she has spent 3.5 years not just not doing this, but not doing her job. Folks, I look at her schedule every day. And until recently, it's been very, very thin. A lot of weekends in LA that we've paid for. Stopping off in Nevada because it's a, quote, swing state with 6 electoral votes.
Conway's critique extended beyond Harris's work ethic to her public appearances and media strategy. She argued that Harris's apparent reluctance to engage with the press and participate in substantive policy discussions is a significant weakness in her campaign. Drawing from her extensive experience in political campaigning, particularly from the successful 2016 Trump campaign, Conway emphasized the importance of local media engagement.
Before you go out to the rally, before you go out to the people, backstage, you're providing 3 interviews, one to local print press, one to local radio, one to local TV. So if you're in Harrisburg, you're in Eau Claire, you're in Macomb County, Michigan, while the press is waiting for you to come out and just talk and not take their questions from the podium, from the teleprompter, you're actually giving an interview that lasts all week long.
This strategy, Conway argued, allows candidates to connect more directly with voters and address local concerns. She explained that local media outlets often provide more straightforward, less editorialized coverage, allowing candidates to get their message across more effectively. Conway contrasted this approach with Harris's perceived avoidance of the press, suggesting that it reflects poorly on her ability to lead and engage with the American people. Conway also addressed the role of vice presidential candidates, particularly focusing on J.D. Vance and Tim Walz.
The person who's having the best week is J.D. Vance. I think he's really hitting his stride as the number 2. The role of number 2 is to reflect the policy prescriptions of the ticket and to really push back a little bit as the attack dog on the other side.
She praised Vance's performance, highlighting his ability to effectively communicate the Trump campaign's message while also challenging the opposition. Conway suggested that Vance's success in this role could be a significant asset to the Trump campaign, potentially swaying undecided voters and energizing the base. In contrast, Conway was critical of Tim Walz's performance as Harris's running mate. She argued that Walz has struggled to find the right balance in his role, sometimes overshadowing Harris and failing to effectively support the ticket's message. This dynamic, Conway suggested, could be indicative of larger issues within the Harris campaign. Conway then shifted her focus to the broader election strategy, emphasizing the importance of policy-focused campaigning.
If Trump can just go and challenge her on the economy, on the border, on crime, on Ukraine, on Israel, on Iran, and the things that she has said and done. I want to get back to Tim Walz for 1 second, because they always say vice presidential candidates don't matter.
Everything you just mentioned is policy.
Yes.
And that's where the strength of the argument is.
Conway argued that the election should be about substantive policy issues rather than personality or rhetoric. She suggested that Trump's strength lies in his ability to address key concerns directly, citing his record on economic policy, border security, and foreign relations. By focusing on these issues, Conway believes Trump can effectively contrast his vision for the country with Harris's perceived lack of concrete policy proposals. Furthermore, Conway emphasized the importance of understanding voter priorities.
Correct. No, it's the most important thing. And Bill, I'm also suggesting that we, the people, want to hear that. Stop pretending that folks just want this to be a battle of whose TikTok is more clever or who has the zinger, the soundbite of the day. People are suffering, they're frustrated, and they want solutions, and they expect that, and Donald Trump can deliver that.
This comment underscores Conway's belief that voters are more interested in substantive solutions to their problems than in catchy slogans or social media presence. She argued that Trump's ability to connect with these concerns gives him a significant advantage in the race. Addressing the current state of the race, Conway noted,
"Look at the Daily Mail modeling today. It shows Trump in the lead. Why? Because it doesn't just look at this poll or that poll in a given moment. It pulls together past election results, the undercounting of the Trump voter in 2016 and 2020, and it overlays it with economic indicators."
Conway's analysis suggests that traditional polling may not accurately capture the full picture of the race, particularly when it comes to Trump's support base. She argued that by considering historical voting patterns and economic factors, a more accurate prediction of the election outcome can be made. This perspective challenges the narrative often presented by mainstream media outlets and highlights the potential for surprises similar to those seen in the 2016 election. In her final warning, Conway addressed the Democratic Party's handling of Harris's candidacy.
If Democrats had had confidence in Kamala Harris's competence, they could have made the switch not 3.5 weeks after that June 27th debate, but 3.5 years. In other words, Joe Biden did not need to run for re-election on December 1st, 2022.
This comment underscores Conway's belief that Harris's competence has been a concern within her own party, potentially impacting the dynamics of the upcoming election. She suggested that the Democratic Party's reluctance to fully embrace Harris earlier in the election cycle indicates a lack of confidence in her abilities as a leader and candidate. Throughout her appearances, Conway consistently emphasized the importance of authenticity and direct communication with voters. She argued that Trump's straightforward approach and willingness to engage with the press and public give him a significant advantage over Harris, who she portrayed as overly scripted and disconnected from the concerns of average Americans. Conway has also touched on the media's role in the election, criticizing what she sees as biased coverage and the Democrats' focus on Trump rather than their own policies.
But if they had spent an iota, I mean a scintilla of the time that they spent on obsessing over Donald Trump, learning something about his voters like you and Johnny do every day, it might be a different dynamic, but instead they call them names. They're not interested in learning what motivates them to support Donald Trump.
This critique highlights Conway's belief that the media and Democrats are missing the mark by focusing too much on Trump himself, rather than understanding his supporters and their concerns. She suggests that this approach is counterproductive and prevents them from effectively reaching out to potential voters. Conway's comments underscore the importance of engaging with voters on substantive issues, rather than getting caught up in personal attacks or obsessions. As the presidential race intensifies, Kellyanne Conway's warnings serve as a roadmap for both campaigns. Her insights highlight the importance of local media engagement, policy-focused messaging, and connecting with voters on key issues. Conway suggests the race may be closer than polls indicate, with Trump's economic focus and direct communication style giving him an edge, while Harris's campaign struggles to find its footing. Conway's analysis reminds us of the unpredictable nature of American politics and the importance of addressing voters' concerns directly. As the campaign enters its final stretch, the candidate who best connects with the American people and offers concrete solutions is likely to emerge victorious in this high-stakes election.